Hello, and welcome to today's episode of In the Moment. I'm your host, Michael Clark, certified life coach, former therapist, and owner of Clark Coaching Services. I was a therapist for 8 years of my career and have been a life coach for almost 2 years now. And I just want to give back and share my knowledge and experience with you to try to help navigate this thing we call life. Thank you in advance for listening, and I'm so glad you're here. Hey everyone. Welcome back to In the Moment. Whether you're commuting, getting ready for the day, stirring a pot of something on the stove, folding laundry, taking a walk, or just trying to breathe for a minute, I'm really glad you're here. One of my all-time favorite musicals is Fiddler on the Roof. The music, the story, the family dynamics, and of course, the underlying theme around the entire musical, tradition. Today we're talking about family traditions. The ones we came from, the ones we lost, the ones we outgrew, the ones we secretly wish we had, and the ones we're trying to create now as adults. And because of the holidays, this conversation feels especially relevant. But before we dive into the heart of it, let me start with a story. Now, this is not my story, but one that a friend shared with me, and I'd like to share it with you now. So, growing up, Thanksgiving was a whole event in their family. There was always that one relative who arrived 3 hours early, quote unquote, just to help, but really to supervise. There was always that one dish nobody actually liked, but pretended to out of loyalty. And then the favorite part, the pies. No, I'm not talking about artisan pies. I'm talking about pies that were maybe a little too committed to being homemade. Some years the crust didn't quite cooperate. Other years something bubbled over. And one year a pie apparently tried to escape the oven. This thing was hissing, bubbling, crackling, expanding, shrinking, like a whole personality was forming inside. They opened the oven and everyone stepped back like, should we be concerned? But somehow, as families do, they made it a tradition. Every year after that, someone would ask, so, which pie is going to try to escape this year? I tell you that story in order to tell you this. That's the thing about traditions. They're rarely perfect, they're rarely polished, they're rarely intentional. Most of the time, they just happen because something was meaningful enough or strange enough or comforting enough that it's decided, consciously or unconsciously, to do it again. So when people talk about traditions, they often think of rituals, holidays, or routines. But underneath all of that, traditions are really about three things: connection, memory, and identity. Traditions tell us where we came from. They remind us of what matters. They anchor us in a world that changes constantly. They give us a sense of continuity, something stable in a life that often isn't. But traditions also evolve. They fade, they shift. Sometimes they disappear without anyone announcing the end. And sometimes we create new ones without even realizing it. Let's talk about the emotional root of traditions for a second. Because like many other things in our lives, traditions aren't just cute activities. They speak to the nervous system, believe it or not. They speak to memory. They speak to belonging. Traditions create predictability, soothe uncertainty, reinforce connection, build shared identity, create sensory memories that last decades, and remind us that we're not alone. When my mom was alive, she didn't constantly sit me down and teach me how to cook or what traditions were important. I observed. and just stayed part of the life and home she built for us. When she passed away, I want to make sure I saved some of the things that truly mattered from a traditional aspect. She had a glass baking dish that was only ever used to make apple crisp. She had a ceramic pot that was only ever used to make her famous macaroni and cheese. And there was one movie that we would watch only on New Year's Eve and no other time of the year. Those traditions allow me to still have her in my heart and soul and remember some of the best times of my childhood and my life with my best friend. I need those. Humans actually need ritual, not in a spiritual sense, although that's meaningful too, but in a psychological sense. Rituals is how we mark time. Ritual is how we honor life. Ritual is how we say, this moment matters. These people matter. I matter. And when a ritual disappears, when a tradition stops, something inside of us feels that loss, even if we can't name it. Now let's talk about something people rarely say out loud. Losing a tradition can feel like losing a little piece of your life. Maybe the grandparents who used to host have passed. Maybe divorce scattered the family. Maybe siblings drifted. Maybe people moved. Maybe everyone became too busy, too tired, too stressed. Or maybe, and this is honest, the tradition itself brought more tension than joy. Whatever the reason, when a tradition ends, we often feel it as nostalgia, sadness, loneliness, frustration, longing for how things used to be, and confusion about how to create something new. There is a grief here, not always big, not always spoken, but real. If your holiday looks different now, if your family isn't the same, if people aren't around anymore, if a tradition you loved is gone, you're not dramatic, you're human. And it makes sense that you would feel something about that. Most families, whether big, small, complicated, loving, chaotic, or somewhere in the middle, have traditions that fall into a few categories. Number one, the food traditions. Not gourmet, not fancy, but deeply emotional. The casserole nobody admits tastes bad but must be there. The stuffing that only one person is allowed to make. That one dessert you waited for all year. The dish that ends up on the table even when the person who made it isn't there anymore. Food is memory, food is identity, food is love written in ingredients. Number two, the people traditions. Some people make the holiday feel like a holiday. The storyteller, the person who always arrives late, the person who insists on taking 47 photos, the peacemaker, the one who falls asleep after dinner on the recliner and snores loud enough to block out most of the conversations people are trying to have, and the relative who brings something from Costco and pretends it's homemade. These people become part of the ritual. Number three, the activity traditions. These usually are not fancy either. Watching the same movie every year, playing board games, going for a walk after dinner, decorating way too early, fighting over the TV remote, breaking out a puzzle nobody finishes. And one of my favorites, blaming the tryptophan in the turkey for wanting to take a nap versus the stuffing yourself with food and wine since 10 a.m. And finally, number four, the unintentional traditions. These just appear. The "this always happens" moments, the mishap of the dog stealing something off the counter, the running joke, the harmless family debate, the card game that always gets competitive. These are the things that go wrong, but also the things that go right because they make that time uniquely yours. Now, let's talk about the holidays specifically. Holidays carry some big emotional weight. Thanksgiving, for example, is sensory, food driven, centered around family, tied to childhood, connected to how things were, and full of expectations. That combination creates a kind of emotional cocktail that can bring up joy, stress, sadness, longing, overwhelm, loneliness, hope, regret, or gratitude. And it's okay if Thanksgiving feels complicated. It's okay if you're excited and anxious, grateful and grieving, happy and disconnected. Holidays are rarely one emotion, they're usually all of them. Holidays are not always fun and can be traumatic for some. If you're listening to this and you have spent more holidays alone than you can count, or you're estranged from your family, or you're grieving someone, or you're disconnected from the people you wish you were close to, I want you to hear this clearly. There's nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not failing at life because your holiday looks different. You're not behind. You're not less than. You're not forgotten. You're not invisible. Some people are alone by choice, some by circumstance, some by grief, some by distance, some by emotional protection, and some because life shifted and they haven't rebuilt yet. And if that's you, if any of that is you, I see you. And your experience is valid. Your feelings are valid. I'm here and ready to talk gently about what it means to navigate a holiday alone. One thing I tell clients often is this: loneliness is not the same as unworthiness. You can be in a room full of people and feel alone. You can be physically alone and feel deeply connected to your life. Alone is a circumstance. Lonely is a feeling. Neither defines who you are. If you're spending holidays differently than you would have hoped or anticipated, you're not doing it wrong. You're living a real human life, one with chapters, traditions, pauses, and reshaping. You are also allowed to create traditions on your own that are small, simple, personal, quiet, meaningful, unconventional, or completely new. A tradition does not require a group, it requires intention. Some ideas include: make a meal you genuinely enjoy, even if it's not traditional holiday food. My life partner and I met around Thanksgiving, and our third date was on Thanksgiving Day. Did we have a traditional turkey and stuffing and cranberries and apple pie? No. We had meatloaf, and it was phenomenal. Other ideas of traditions you can make for yourself: watch your favorite movie, go for a long walk, do a gratitude reflection that's honest, not forced. Journal about the good memories and the hard ones. Create a solo ritual like candles, music, or warm drink. Connect with one person you trust, even if it's just a text. Do something kind for yourself. Do something kind for someone else. Traditions don't have to be inherited. They can be built, and they can begin with you. If you do spend holidays with family, here are some things to remember. Not everyone is doing well, even if they smile. Someone at the table might be grieving. Someone might be exhausted. Someone might feel out of place. Someone might be missing someone. Traditions can bring joy, but they can also bring pain. Meet people gently. Move slowly. Don't force happiness. Invite authenticity. And maybe instead of saying, "How have you been?" you ask something like, "What's been on your heart lately? What's been meaningful this year? What are you looking forward to?" So if there's a theme in all of this, it's this. Traditions are not about perfection. They're about presence. They're not about doing things the right way. They're about feeling connected to yourself, to others, to meaning. Traditions ask us to pause, to remember, to honor, to gather what matters, to let go of what doesn't, to soften into gratitude, even if that gratitude is gentle, quiet, or imperfect. And please hear me now. And if you don't take anything else from this podcast, take this message. It is never too late to start something new and beautiful and memorable. So, as we wrap up, whatever your traditions look like, if it's joyful, soak it in. If it's quiet, honor the peace. If it's lonely, be gentle with yourself. If it's complicated, that's okay. If it's different, that does not mean it's wrong. If it's tender, meet the tenderness with compassion. You are allowed to feel how you feel. You are allowed to create new meaning. You are allowed to start traditions that nourish you now. You are allowed to outgrow the ones that don't. And you are allowed to belong, even if your life looks different than it used to. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this episode brought you comfort, clarity, or a moment of connection, share it with someone who might need it too. And if you ever want extra support, you know where to find me. ClarkCoachingServices.com. Wherever you are, whoever you're with, whatever this season looks like, let's keep living with intention. One tradition, one memory, one moment at a time.